All right.
Five, four. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
You're on.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black. We are here to the side of things, and hopefully today, the show that I have lined up today is going to be a little different, but it is definitely based on policy. It is definitely based on some legislation that was passed out of our state house this year, but it is also relevant to some of the current events that have been going on this week, especially with the terrorism bombings in London and in Manchester. And we're gonna do a little history lesson today. And I know some people aren't necessarily down with the history lessons, but you know, I feel like in order for us to learn, we have to kind of understand why we are here, where we are now. We kind of have to go back a little bit. We have to go back and understand, you know, unfortunately, our life and existence on this planet isn't just a moment in time. There are interconnected events that have made, you know, things that happen today, things that happened yesterday are affecting the things that happen today. And we're going to get to that today because I want to talk about a bill that was passed out of the House and the Senate and was signed into law this year by our governor. And I think it speaks really, this particular bill speaks to this topic. But first, you know me, I'm going to talk about the current events. There's a lot of stuff coming up. First and foremost, if you don't know, this is our weekend. This is Pride weekend. If you don't know, go downtown, watch the parade at 9 o'clock. You'll see some elected officials. I get excited because I know Joe Hogshead will be down there. I know Congressman Carson will be down there. Councilman Zach Adamson will be down there. You're going to get a chance to meet and see some of our greatest elected officials as they support the LGBT community. Head on over after the parade, get you something to eat, get you a drink, lemonade. That's what I was talking about. And then head on over to Military Park, hang out, see some of the vendors. It's just a great party, a great time, a great way to connect with the LGBT community. You don't have to be LGBT to come hang out with us. Most of the people that march in the parade are not. But be sure, if you're not sure, if you're registered to vote, that you visit the Stonewall Democrats booth. I will be there all day long. I will be registering voters. I'm always hyped when I get a chance to get in front of people and register voters and let them see how excited I am to be a part of this process. So Saturday, you know it's on and popping. It's the city's biggest party, one of the city's biggest parties. We doing it up. I give it up to Indy Pride for Circle City Pride and the work that they put in to make sure that we have, you know, one of the summer's greatest parties. Indy Pride, that's your job. You make sure that we have a party every year, and you do that. You have to go to the Indy Pride website to find out what the lineup is. I've been kind of heads down this year, so I don't even know what the parade route is. Just know it starts at 9 o'clock. And if you're not sure, go to that website and get connected so that you know what's going on and who's going to be down there. I will be down there. I love it. Also, June 10th, if you're not interested in going to the Pride and you are interested in running for office, my guys up in Hamilton County are hosting their candidate training school. So make sure if you haven't already signed up for that you get signed up for that. I'm not sure how much space they have left. I haven't seen them say no more. We're not taking any more. But if you really are interested in running for office, this is an excellent way for you to get involved. This is an excellent way for you to learn. Or maybe you're not, again, as I've said a gazillion times, you're not the person that wants to be out front, but you'd rather be in the background. I know candidates could always use help from the time they start their campaign until they end their campaign. So if you want to be a good volunteer and understand how a campaign is supposed to run, go to this training class. It's free of charge. I don't think they're providing lunch, but it's free of charge. It's at the library in Noblesville. Go to the website. Go to Hamilton County Democrats website. They'll have a listing there. Get involved. It is wonderful. It's a wonderful opportunity to learn how to be a good candidate. All right. Sunday, June 11th. I'm sharing this information because usually I don't leave the house on Sundays. Sundays is usually my wife's time. I don't go out on Sundays. I usually stay in. But, Talbot Street Art Fair is this weekend, so my wife may want to get out. But also, there is the Equality March for Unity and Pride, Indiana, that's happening Sunday. Now, I've seen two different Facebook events and two different start times. I've seen it at 10 a.m. and I've seen it at noon. But if you get down there at 10 a.m., then you're on time. So I am actually going to be speaking at this event. You know me, I got a few things to say, so come on down and join. And this is put on by Indy Pride, but it's just it's going to be at the Monument Circle. Come on down. I know if you may party too much Saturday night, if you do, get a little orange juice and come on back out Sunday morning. And just again, it's about unity, about uplifting everybody and being positive. So I will be there speaking. I'm not sure what my lineup is, but I'll be there. Also on Sunday, say you want to help out on campaigns, and say there's a campaign that you're not sure if there's a campaign that you can work on. Here's a campaign information that you can work on. On Sunday, June 11th, the Donnelly Petition Drive kickoff meeting is from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the IBEW local number 481. The address is 1828 North Meridian, Suite 205. Join the leadership team from the Senator Donnelly's 2018 re-election campaign to learn about the process and plans to collect ballot access petitions and how you can be involved in helping re-elect America's hardest working senator. Petitions are available and our team is ready to train you and get you started now. So I know that a lot of you have expressed some malcontent with Senator Donnelly. But like I tell people all the time, I would much rather have somebody that's going to vote on the Democrat causes 75 to 80% of the time than allow somebody like a Todd Rokita to get in office who is not going to vote for us 5% of the time. So, I mean, you may have your disagreements, and you may decide you want a primary. You may decide to do those things. But here's somebody who is voted for the Democrats 75% of the time. I'm comfortable with that. I don't expect to agree with anybody 100% of the time. I don't agree with my wife, who I find the most beautiful and loving person on the planet. Do I agree with her 100% of the time? So why would I expect to, agree with Senator Donnelly 100% of the time? I do not. But he is our best chance to make sure that we have at least one Democrat senator in our state house. So if you want to get involved with his campaign, Sunday, 2 p.m. at the IBE local 1828 North Meridian, Suite 205. Get involved. Monday, June 12th is the Decatur Township Club meeting. I usually give the address. Today I didn't, and I apologize. I did not write that down. But also on Monday, we will have I'll be out in Hancock County. I'll be at the Hancock County Democrat Club meeting. It usually starts at 7, and it's in Greenwood, and it's usually at the town hall. Listen, the folks out in Hancock County, they are so fired up. They enjoy, working together and trying to make a difference in their community. So I'm going to go out and visit with them on the 12th. Join me if you're in the Hancock County area. So if you are a Democrat out in Hancock, join me. Sign up and become a member of this club so you can find out what's going on with Democrats in Hancock County. All right. June 13th is the Wayne Township Club. They're out on the west side. My dear friends are running that out there. I'm having a brain freeze, and I don't even know why, because he's he is like one of my buddies, man. Just getting old is not fun, I tell you. Golly, he ran for office. Y'all know who I'm talking about. But anyway, going out to Wayne County, he's gonna kill me. J.D. Ford. Oh my God, how could I forget J.D.? Don't be mad at me, baby. I was having a 46-year-old brain moment. You have to forgive me. Join my man out at the Wayne County Township Club meeting. J.D. Ford, they have a really powerful club, and they're doing some wonderful things. Tom, I can't see what that is. All I see is don't forget. I don't know what that is. I can't see what it is. Okay, on June 14th, I have got to give us a super duper shout out to one of my favorite people on the planet. Now, mind you, June 14th is my birthday, and so I'm not actually going to be able to attend any events on June 14th. I'm going to be at home celebrating my birthday with my wife because it's one more year that I'm on this planet. And there's no place I'd rather be when I'm celebrating my life than with my wife. Hello. So, but if you guys don't know Debra Jenkins, our Marion County surveyor, you are missing out on one of the sweetest and funniest ladies on the planet. I mean, she's got mad love in her heart for the citizens of Marion County in Indiana. She's a strong union woman. She's a great mom, a great grandmother. And I just adore her. I just love all on her when I see her because she is just a sweet, sweet, sweet woman. But she is our county surveyor, and she is having her fundraiser, her annual fundraiser at the Carpenters Union Hall, local 301. That address is 3530 South Rule Street, and that's from 5:30 to 8 p.m. Last year I was there. She had barbecue. Man, that barbecue, it was from City Barbecue, so most of y'all know in town, City Barbecue is pretty good. So, and she does her thing, and I love it. I love it. Got your time, right on. So visit Deb Jenkins. It's a fundraiser, so if you have money to donate for her campaign because she's running for re-election for surveyor for Marion County, feel free to jump in and get involved. June 14th, also another oh man. These ladies, these are my girls. I hate that I'm actually missing this. I really do. The Indianapolis chapter of NOW, National Organization of Women, is having their quarterly meeting. And I knew a long time ago that they were having it on the 14th because when they announced it, I was like, hey, that's my birthday. You know, so I knew they were going to have it, and they finalized everything. It's going to be at Broad Ripple Park at 6:30. Unfortunately, I don't have the shelter information, but they do have a Facebook page. So go to the Indianapolis Now page, and you can find out which shelter they're going to be under at Broad Ripple Park. June 17th, that's right, June 17th, the kickoff to register voters. Meet that Indivisible Indiana is organizing this. They're going to be registering voters and training people how to register voters. I spoke at their meeting on Monday, and I got to tell you, Indivisible Indiana, they are fired up. I mean, they got some moxie up in this little group that they put together. They're not playing. They are about business. They cornered me a couple of times, but I'm like Ali. You know, I was ready. I was ready for what they were bringing. But Indivisible Indiana, that's a good group. They say they're nonpartisan, but you know me, I'm always trying to figure out how I can get these groups to work with the state party as much as I can. And we're going to try to coordinate some events together. I'm looking forward to it. So on June 17th, if you aren't busy, join Indivisible Indiana at 1420 North Capitol for how to train and then go out and register people to vote. Because listen, they're kicking people off the rolls. If they sent out, what they did was they sent out postcards. And this is all up and down the state. This isn't Marion County. So hopefully some of the other county parties are planning, or some of these other organizations are planning to do these events in multiple counties, because we need to make sure that everybody is registered to vote, right? So they sent out these postcards, and they did it, multiple times. And if you didn't respond to the card, then they said, oh, well, you're not here. And they based it on whether or not you voted in the last two general elections. And if you didn't respond to these postcards, they're kicking people off rolls. So we want to make sure that you get registered to vote and stay registered to vote, especially if you haven't moved and don't have any plans to move. There's no reason why you should be kicked off the rolls simply because they're sending out, cards that you didn't respond to. And we all get junk mail. I don't even know what the card looks like because I haven't seen one. But I can imagine it's probably some generic looking junk mail that we probably didn't pay much attention to, and it got tossed out. But here's the deal. August 26th is a little ways out. I'm not making the announcement that far. All right. Here's the deal. There are a lot of people that are going to be working around the city and around the state to make sure people will stay on the rolls because, 2018 is right here. Candidates are filing petitions. I'm going to have a day where I'm going to have each candidate that I know that's already filed a petition to come on and explain who they are and what they're running for. And we're going to make sure that things are all good. So I'm going to be registering voters at Pride. June 17th, Indivisible Indiana is going to be registering voters. So you guys, there's no reason why you should not know what's going on. Get registered, get involved. So today's discussion, I'm centering today's discussion around a couple of things that have happened that affected me personally, but then affected the world that we live in. You know, the terrorist bombings in the United Kingdom, in London, in England. Man, they are really devastating. You know, I think it's incredibly cowardly to randomly bomb people. I think it is cowardly and inhuman to kill children anonymously. Kill children anyway is bad, right? Once they're here, they're here. And so I don't want anyone thinking that I absolutely condone at any point anybody thinking it is acceptable for whatever reason, because you know their God told them to do something. I don't want anybody else to think that I think that it's okay, because I think it's terrible and it's chicken shit, really. That's what it is. If you want to fight, fight. But I would be remiss if I didn't actually acknowledge that something had to get people to the point where they're willing to strap a bomb on themselves and go to a crowded area and blow up people. And the reason why I even want to talk about this subject today, you guys know, I usually keep it within our borders. I mean, I could talk about Comey. I mean, I know you guys want to talk about Comey and the testimony. I know you guys want to talk about Dan Coates and his testimony and how pretty much we've caught our particular president in a lie. But this particular president is where he is because of years of neglect. So this year, our General Assembly and our governor passed House Bill 337 or Senate Bill 337. Senate Bill 337 is basically a bill that says we will now teach cultural and diversity, or offer it as an elective in high school. We are going to allow students to take classes that talk about different cultures, and you know, each school corporation shall include in the school corporation's curriculum the following studies: language arts, including English, grammar, composition, speech, and second languages. Those second languages can include Spanish or Mandarin or French or any of those other things. Mathematics, social studies, and citizenship, including the Constitution, governmental systems, and histories of Indiana. Sciences, fine arts, health. But what they added to it is each school corporation, charter school, and accredited public school shall offer the study of ethnic and racial groups as one semester elective course in its high school curriculum at least once every year. The course described in subsection may be offered by the school corporation, charter school, or accredited non-public school through a course access program administered by the department. So you're probably asking yourself, well, Dana, what does this bill, this House Bill 337 that was passed in Indiana, have to do with bombings in London and in Manchester? It has a lot to do with it. It has a lot. Indiana, in America, we have people who don't seem to see beyond themselves. So, for example, Laura Ingraham just so happened to be on Fox and Friends a couple days ago on the 6th. She was on there on the 6th. And she was reacting to the London attack. And, you know, British authorities had named, you know, who those folks will be. I'm not going to name their names because I'm not giving cowards, you know, extra plug. I'm just not going to do it. But Ingraham said that a number of individuals in the UK have ties to terror groups is staggering. Now, this could very well be true. And what she says is, we're not talking about a couple hundred, we're talking about thousands and thousands. She argued that law enforcement intelligence officials are simply overwhelmed by the number of people on watch lists and who are labeled as persons of interest. But what she quotes to me, it struck me in my heart and it struck me in my soul. So I wanted to make sure I read this to you. That's why it's so important that before you allow people to come into your country, that you have a very good sense that they are interested in being part of the British experience. They're not interested in undermining the culture or carrying out horrific acts. Let me read that again to you, one more again, because now mind you, this was what they're saying. Laura Ingraham is saying about what people should be doing when they enter into the British borders in 2017, right? That's why it is important that before we allow people into your country, that you have a very good sense that they are interested in being part of the British experience. Well, can I ask you, what is the British experience? What does that look like to an Indian from Bombay? What does that look like to the Aboriginal natives of Australia? What does that look like to Hong Kong? She goes on to say, that's what we all have to live with for the free and open society. I'm sorry. So she's saying that innocent people pay the price for multiculturalism. See, to me, when I read that, I thought, how on earth could anybody be so short-sighted? How can anyone talk about the price to pay or pay a price for multiculturalism is terrorism? Again, and I've said it 100 times, I am not at all condoning the behavior of these terrorists and what they did. But you need to go back and understand how they got to this point. Does anyone even remember that the British had an empire? Does anybody even remember that? Does anybody even remember that one of the slogans was "the sun never sets" on the British Empire? Everybody was cool with that, weren't you? You were cool with the fact that Great Britain had planted its flag on every continent, multiple countries on those continents, and in many cases helped with the extinction of the native people on that continent. See, I get angry, I get a little disturbed when I see that, in 2017, people are saying that we need to close our borders off and we don't need to let anybody in and we need to close these people off, when most of the people that are saying this are living in borders that were inhabited by other people that they just tried to commit genocide against. Can you imagine what it must be like for a Native American to hear Laura Ingraham say, well, you must be a part of the existing experience? When they landed, when the Pilgrims landed and they were dying because they didn't know how to cook corn, and the Native Americans showed them how to survive on this continent, how did the European settlers thank them for their generosity? They killed them. They called it the Indian problem. So let's go back to the British Empire, right? It's gonna be brief. I'm not gonna take long, because for what, 200 years? 200 years? You know what I'm saying? 200 years they were ruling other people. You have migration like you have because those people in India were British royal subjects. And so because they were British royal subjects, they were like, shoot, I want to go to the motherland. So let's talk about it. 1497, only 5 years after Christopher Columbus sailed to the West Indies, the Italian explorer John Cabot, financed by English merchants, discovered new lands in Canada. Well, I think it's cute that people discover stuff and think, oh my God, look what I discovered. And because they are it's the first time they laid their eyes on it, didn't mean that there were other people that weren't already there. The first English colonies were formed in America in 1612. The first successful English colony in the West Indies was founded in 1620. Colonies. In the 18th century, Britain fought a number of wars against France, taking over colonies established by the French. So the British weren't the only ones that were, in other places telling other people how they should live their lives. And if they wasn't living it the way that the British or the French felt like they should, they were subjugated. So 1769, James Cook claimed New Zealand for the British Crown. In 1787, the first shipment of transported prisoners to Australia. What? Wait a minute. I'm sorry, what? Prisoners to Australia? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Prisoners? Well, yeah. See, the British Empire thought, well, you know what? Instead of having prisoners on the mainland and living on the island of Britain, let's put them on a boat and take them down to Australia and let them be free. But see, there were all these people already down there. There were these Aboriginal folks that were already down there living. And the Great Britain was like, who cares? You're not us. You don't live the way we live. So what difference does it make? So they sent prisoners to Australia, and that's how Australia was founded. 1839, the Opium War forced China to allow British traders to sell the drug opium into China. Look at that. Here it is, 2017, and we're still talking about opioid addictions. 1857, there was a rebellion in India. The government took over rule of India from the East Indian Company. Great Britain did that. India has over 1 billion people. Canada, Queen Victoria was declared Express of India in 1876. In 1881, the scramble for Africa. Britain acquired colonies in Africa stretching from Cairo to Cape Town. Well, we already know what happened when the Europeans landed in South Africa and what happened in South Africa and the subjugation of the people of color in South Africa. I ain't gonna talk about that. We ain't got to talk about Soweto. We ain't got to talk about Nelson Mandela. We don't talk about that because you already know, right? Because this is the price we pay for multiculturalism. Laura Ingraham. Britain regarded itself as a ruler in waves, and so it felt like the people of Great Britain felt like they were entitled to just run amok around the world, brutalizing people. Now let's be real. It's not like they went in and said, hey, and asked nicely, can we have your land, please? Can we have your land? Can we just take what you have and tax you? I mean, you don't mind, do you? You don't mind if we come in here and just take all your stuff, do you? No, of course you don't. And of course they were civilized about it, right? They were civilized about it. No. Great Britain and the British Empire could be very, very brutal in their dealings with native people of whatever land that they felt like they were entitled to conquer. And unfortunately, these things happened in a time when there was no hashtag. Because there surely would have been a hashtag Tasmania if we had Twitter and Facebook and social media back in 1803 when the British settled in Tasmania. I know if you don't know this story, this is kind of a heartbreaking story because it is real, it is true, and no one wants to talk about it. They want to pretend like, it never happened or it never existed. So, in between 1803 and 1823, there were 2 phases of conflicts between the Aboriginal people of Tanzania and British colonists. The first took place between 1803 and 1808 over the need for common food sources as oysters and kangaroos. And the second one was between 1808 and 1823, when the small number of white females, because there was a small number of white females among the farmers, sealers, and whalers, this led to the trading and abduction of Aboriginal women for sex partners. Yeah, this happened. Hashtag Tanzania. Or I'm sorry, Tasmania. I'm sorry. Hashtag Tasmania. In 1816, the British settlers started kidnapping Aboriginal children for labor. Well, listen, the European settlers had just had enough of these native Aboriginal Tasmanians on this island, and it was time to move them. And they did. After they fought and killed them, they moved them to Fiddler's Island, where their numbers dwindled. And for the most part, they died. But see, they're pretty much extinct. But we don't teach this information about what leads people to behave the way they do. And I hear a lot of you going, well, shoot, the folks in Manchester had nothing to do with what happened in Tasmania. They had nothing to do with what happened in India. Doesn't matter. Those people are still mad. It does not make it right to strap on a bomb and go shoot people. But the idea that we don't even bother to take the time to understand how they got there, what got them so angry, what got them to the point where they felt so much hopelessness that they would hijack some planes and run them into the Twin Towers in New York. I remember watching people going, well, why do they hate us so much? Because we continue to violate them. But we don't teach you that. We don't teach you that in school, because we would rather teach you that America is great and you buy into the propaganda. Yes, America is great. It's the land of opportunity. There are things that we can do here that we can't do anywhere else. But don't tell half the story. Tell the whole story. Tell the whole story. Tell the story about the Trail of Tears. What is a Trail of Tears, you ask? Well, at the beginning of the 1830s, nearly 125,000 Native Americans lived on millions of acres of land in Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, North Carolina, and Florida. Right? Their ancestors had occupied this land for centuries. They'd been living there, minding their own business. By the end of the decade, very few natives remain anywhere in the southeast United States. Working on behalf of white settlers, those of European descent, working on behalf of white settlers who wanted to grow cotton on the Indian land, the federal government forced them to leave their homeland and walk thousands of miles to a special designated Indian territory across the Mississippi River. This difficult and sometimes deadly journey is known as the Trail of Tears. How many of you were taught that in your ethics studies in school? I know I wasn't. I wasn't taught that. They didn't explain to me the devastating effect that Manifest Destiny had on the Native Americans of this land. They didn't teach me that. I probably would have been able to deal with it, but if you had just told me the truth, but you wanted to whitewash it and pretend like it never happened, and like this is, it was just supposed to be here for us. See, we act like where we are now is the moment in time, and that's it. No. Something led to Florida being Florida. Something led to Georgia being Georgia. And to act like those things didn't happen or they didn't exist is ignorance. And I am so excited that our Republican-controlled House and Senate passed a bill on ethics studies so that the citizens of Indiana can get a better understanding about the people around them and not just simply whitewash history. Now, the curriculum is still to come, so we don't know what it's going to look like, but at least we're going to learn something. And look, the Indian removal that took place in northern states too, right? In Illinois and in Wisconsin, for example, the bloody Black Hawk War in 1832 opened to white settlement millions of acres of land that had belonged to the Sioux, Fox, and other nations. We don't have Chicago unless we get rid of the Native Americans that were living there. We don't have Oshkosh, and we don't have Kenosha or Madison, Wisconsin, if we don't eliminate the people who were living there. So, you talk about, why don't we get along? Well, we don't get along because we lie to each other about what really happened. Or, we omit the truth. We omit the truth. You can have more compassion for people if you understand their history. African Americans have to get a DNA test to find out what country of origin they come from. Every year we celebrate St. Patrick's Day. In it's an Irish holiday. We have Greek Fest, German Fest. We have cultural events for a lot of European nations on a regular basis. But black folks in America have to take a DNA test to find out what country in Africa they originate from, because, they don't really want to they don't actually, give you a country. Like, I might actually be, Ghana American versus African American. But because we don't know, we don't teach our students how we treated African slaves that were the Africans who were brought over to be slaves, and how we, bred them like cows and chickens, pigs. We don't want to talk about how we split their families apart once they started having babies, and the devastating effect that has generationally affected the African American community and how families are oriented. You got to take a DNA test to figure out where you come from. There are people now who are super excited, because they know their last name is O'Reilly and where that came from. Or they're Scandinavian, or they're Slovakian, because their name tells them. We got names of our slaveholders. Black isn't the name that I would have had, I'm sure, if I was running around butt naked in Africa right now. Black would not be my last name. I'm sure it was the name of a slaveholder, and it was passed down from generation to generation. But we don't want to tell that part. Ethnic studies, this is a fantastic opportunity for us to open our minds up to different people. This is an opportunity. So what happened to me this week that got me on this kick? And you know me, everything comes back to politics for me. It doesn't matter. I was able to take this incident and realize that there's a bill that we need to talk about. And I got to give it up to my girl, Renee Ellsbury. If you guys don't know, and I usually don't give plugs out to other organizations or anything else that I do, but Renee Ellsbury is the young lady that I do Policy with a Purpose with. It's our podcast that we do on JL Media. And she was was very instrumental in helping Senator Greg Taylor draft the original ethics studies bill, which unfortunately his didn't necessarily go through. The Republicans had to submit something so that it would go through. And she really educated me on this bill. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even known it was in our General Assembly to get passed. And it's so significant. And here's why it's significant. This week, I was talking to a young woman we're probably in the same generation, give or take 10 years in either direction. And she lives in Hancock County. And, my district was in Hancock County. So I was like, oh my God, did you vote for me? I get excited, She's like, well, I don't think you're in my district. I'm like, oh, I see, whereabouts do you live? Because, Fortville, McCordsville, yeah. But she said she lived in Greenfield. Oh, no, not in my district. My district stopped just above 70. I said, I've been down there. I love going down there. I said, I even marched in the parade last year. And she says to me, Well, you had to be the only colored person in the parade. See, cultural competency. If you read my Facebook page, I talked about it. And it dawned on me, we don't, teach people. And here's the thing, there were people who were outraged on that post, but what got me going even more were that there were people talking about, well, what do we call you? You've gone through Negro, you've gone through colored, you've gone through Afro-American, African-American, Black. What do we call you? We don't know. What are we supposed to do? Oh my God. And I don't mean to sound condescending, but I felt like, really? I felt like, really? It's 2017, and I know that, see, we've gone through so many iterations of what to call ourselves because who we were was stripped from us. Ethics study, cultural study. If you study in school the history of the African or the person of African descent in North America, then you would understand that our identity was stripped from us. Our culture was stripped from us. Our religion was stripped from us. Our names were stripped from us. Our dignity was stripped from us. And you wouldn't feel like it's our fault you don't know what to call us. You wouldn't feel like it's our fault that we haven't educated you on what it's like to be African American in the United States. This is what got me on this kick today. Because there is now a bill that has been signed by our governor that says, listen, the only way that we are going to fix a lot of the problems that we have in our country is if we take the time to learn about each other. I know all I need to know about Greeks, Greek mythology. Greek mythology is Greek religion. That's what it was. It was their religion. They had gods and goddesses. I know about Romans, and I know about Roman mythology, and that was their religion, their gods. I know about it. I know about the British Empire. I know that they held on to Hong Kong to 1999. I know that they were taxing Indians for salt, and Gandhi had to starve himself. I know these things. I love history, so I like a good story. And I don't mean to make anybody feel bad, but here's the deal. Just like I know that George Washington is our first president and he was a slave owner, I also know the greatness of my people is not defined by how we were oppressed and the fact that we overcame it. There's a reason why it was against the law to teach African Americans to read. Because knowledge is power. Nat Turner, he could read. Guess what he tried to do? He tried to kill all the white folks in his little area. We don't even teach people about Nat Turner. I did not learn about Nat Turner in high school. Why? Because Nat Turner was standing up for himself against the power structure. We don't learn about that one. Nope. Nope. Oh, we talk about slavery. They give us Frederick Douglass. They give us Sojourner Truth. They give us my dear personal hero, Harriet Tubman. They give us a few to let you know that there were people willing to fight for their own freedom. But they don't tell you about the Nat Turners. They will tell you about, we had to read Up From Slavery by Booker T. Washington, but we never read anything by W.E.B. Du Bois. When he said we can be the talented 10th. We can be smart. We can be scientists. We don't have to just learn how to wash our behinds and be field hands. We can be scientists, doctors, lawyers, or anything else we wanted to be. They didn't teach us about that. They taught us about the Prince of Peace, Martin Luther King. They taught us about him and his nonviolent method that he copied from Gandhi. But they didn't want to tell you about Malcolm X. They didn't want to tell you that he said, I'm going to pick up a gun because I got a right to pick up a gun, and if you come for me, I'm going to shoot you in your face. They didn't want to tell you about that. They didn't want to tell you about the Black Panther Party. In fact, they wanted to tell you that they did tell you. I take that back. Let me tell you what they told us. They taught us in school that the Black Panther Party was under FBI investigation. That they were enemies of the state. America's most wanted. But what they didn't tell you was that they were feeding children before they went to school, that they were policing their neighborhoods for police brutality in the 60s. Hello, it ain't nothing new around here. Ain't nothing new. They don't want to tell you that. And there's no guarantee that this bill is going to make them talk about all of our history the right way. You know, some people act like Asians didn't get here until the turn of the century. They don't want to tell you that the Chinese built our railroads. They were here. They were in the West long before our manifest destiny. If you guys don't know what manifest destiny is, the reason why that we have North America from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. If you don't understand what manifest destiny is, you need to learn it. You need to understand what it means and understand that was an incredibly motivating factor to why there was the Trail of Tears and Wounded Knee. There's a reason why. Hopefully, our superintendent in Indiana will make sure that all the schools are teaching curriculum that is beneficial for us to get along better. You know, I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop because people expect me to get all indignant when I'm at work and they make all these assumptions, and I don't. I even had someone I had to correct, and I lovingly corrected her. We were talking about how black folks name their kids. I don't have a problem how you name your kid. I didn't have that baby. You had that baby. You should be able to name that baby whatever you want to. And then she said, well, sometimes black people go too far. Who the hell is determining what is too far to name your child? And I corrected her. I said, who's going to determine that? If you want to name your child what you want to name your child, why should anybody have anything to do with it? Why should you even have a comment on what a whole group of people decide to name their children? If there are whole groups of Tamikas, Shanikas, and Shawikas, it ain't got nothing to do with you. What if it ain't European, it ain't right? How dare you suggest that how somebody chooses to name their child? How someone chooses to name the being that came out of their body. How dare you? But see, that comes from the fact that we are still trying to find our identity as a people because it was stripped from us. But you don't understand that because you don't know that. The study of ethics. This is why this bill is important. Study of ethics. You see, America can be great. America can live up to its creed. America still has the opportunity to be all that it says that it can be. But the only way that can happen is if we have compassion for each other. The only way that can happen is if we learn about each other and put ourselves in each other's shoes. Only way that I'm going to tell you, I've even had people in my own community question my blackness. Yep. So please know, it ain't just people of European descent that are ignorant of our ethics and who we are. Because I don't jump up every day and scream about issues affecting the African American community first before I even say good morning does not mean that I am not fully aware of what my people have gone through in this country. But see, I am more than just a black person. I am also a woman. And women are still fighting to be heard. 52% of the population, but 20% of our elected officials. Still fighting the travesty of that. I am an LGBT person. I am married to an incredibly beautiful woman. And I have black people in my community right now that will look at me up and down and roll their eyes because I'm not like them. Gay people have been on this planet longer than Christians have. Gay people have been on this planet longer than monotheistic religions. When we were still worshiping as a human race, multiple gods, and having the God of the sun and the God of the moon and the God of the earth and the God of the rain, the Egyptians had it, the Greeks had it, the Romans had it, polytheistic religions. There were gay people. And not every culture hated on gay people. In Thailand right now, they protect trans people. They even help them make sure that they get to where they need to be as whole people. It's expensive. Gotta have some money. Native Americans called them Two-Spirit. Two-Spirit. And they believed that they had special powers. It wasn't until the Europeans came and said, "What y'all doing? That ain't right. Stop doing that." But that's what they believed in their culture. The Hawaiians. See, I love her. The Queen of Hawaii that said, "No, I'm not going to fight the United States. Y'all just come on and get this. You're not going to kill my people, right? All right, cool." And her people are still here. People of Tasmania, they gone. The Hawaiian people are still here because they said, "We're not going to fight." But can you believe that European settlers went over to Hawaii and saw how the Hawaiian natives, when they told a story, they told their story in dance and with drums. And because they couldn't handle all that gyration that was going on, the Puritans and the missionaries were like, "Oh, no, you must stop doing that. Something that you've been doing for centuries to tell your centuries-old story, you got to stop doing that." The study of ethics, ethnicity. I've been saying ethics the whole time. Ethnicity and culture. If I can teach you about who I am, maybe you will humanize me. You will not want to harm me. You will want to get to know me and eventually love me. I don't have a problem loving my white brothers and sisters. I do not. Because I also know that as we were trying to pull ourselves up from slavery, there was a white hand that reached out to us to help us. Because not every one of them believed that putting other humans in shackles and chains was the best thing to do. We had help. I also love my Native Americans because when we escaped and we found ourselves in the Underground Railroad going west, they gave us refuge in their tribes. Hence why we have so many African Americans with Native American blood in us. They gave us refuge. We didn't do it by ourselves. You know, intersectionality is real because we have to understand what it means. It means that we are all humans on this planet, and if we don't start looking out for each other, we all go in the pot. Stop lying to each other. Yes, I know some of you have elected a president that all he does is lie. That's all he does. That's all he wants to do. That's all he's going to do. But we have to be better than that. We have to be more than that. We have to learn from each other. I applaud the Republicans in the House and the Senate and the Democrats in the House and the Senate of our state house. And I applaud Governor Holcomb for passing this bill ethnic studies and culture is now going to be offered in every classroom and in every school system. And kids will have an opportunity to learn something about people who are different than them. And maybe when they meet them on the street, they will have some compassion for them, some love for them, will want to hold their hand, say, can I help you? Can I be a hand up? Instead of always thinking we are something other than what we are. We all bleed red. We all want to care for our families. We all want to make sure we can have a place to live. We all want to be loved. I had to get this out of me because, I don't usually go there on the race thing because, we can talk about that all day. There are people out there in the fight and in the struggle who are trying to bring awareness to people in a way that they can understand if you just try to receive it. It ain't about you all the time. It ain't about your feelings. And if you don't understand what to call African Americans or black people in 2017, there's a proper way to find out. Read a book. Stop expecting us to help you understand everything. Just like we have to learn things on our own too. Be proactive. Just because it ain't in your face don't mean you can't be proactive and go learn for yourself. That's when you know you really care, is when somebody doesn't have to sit around and dictate to you. Better yet, take a class. Go take an African American study class. Go take a Hispanic American study class. Yeah, they got them. Learn about the migrant workers and what the hell that they went through, trying to be recognized and dignified. Because, we don't want to pick vegetables no more. But we sure as heck don't want people over here to pick them for us until we don't have none. And then, oh my God, what are we going to do? We're selfish in the way that we see other people. Because if they're not like us, there's something wrong with them. You do not attack somebody for how they name their child. They can name it whatever they want to name it. If my mother wanted to name me Black, I was at my nephew's graduation today, and somebody named their child Tyler. They have every right to name their child whatever they want. Get over yourself. It does not have to sound like David. It doesn't have to sound like whatever you think, Sally, Edna. It doesn't have to sound like that. It can sound like whatever they want it to sound like. And please do not call black people colored. We are not colored. Stop it. Stop being rude. And don't discount it when I tell it to you like, I'm going to call you whatever I want to. And then when you get cussed out, you mad. Stop it. Be sensitive. How do you want to be treated? Then treat the people around you like that. It's just that damn simple. That's why I'm out here fighting, y'all. I'm not playing. All right. I know this was, I tried to tie it into a bill because it's serious out here, people. If we don't learn to take care of each other, it's serious out here. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not done so, make sure you go on indems.org/join and join Resistance Summer. Get signed up because there's a lot of work to do. If we want to make sure that our country is still our country after what's happening at the Senate and what's going on with Comey and all of that other stuff, we'll talk about that stuff later. I do have an incredible announcement. I'm excited about this. I got to get my calendar out so I can say the right date. I have confirmed that on, what day? Oh, I'm so sorry, y'all. On June 29th. June 29th. Tune in. Make sure you tune in to Turn Left because I have a special guest confirmed. I'm excited about it. She is my friend. I consider her my friend, but I also consider her a mentor. I love how she does what she does. Senator Jean Breaux will be on our June 29th show. I have confirmed it. We're going to find out about who she is, why she ran for office, what she thinks about the last session, and what's going to happen in the summer session. I'm excited about talking to Senator Jean Breaux. June 29th, she'll be on our show. I will be on again next week, but in 2 weeks, I'll be on vacation. I just want to throw that out there. But thank you for tuning in to Turn Left. My goal is to empower us to be better people, because every day I am empowered by somebody. Somebody is giving me what I need. I love you guys. Good night. Again, thank you for tuning in to Turn Left. I'll chat with y'all later. Peace.